right. Frank, can you hear us?
Yes. Good morning.
All right, let's, everybody's ready. We'll get started. I'll call to order the Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting scheduled for today, May 13th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. And we'll kick it off by conducting the roll call.
Governor Joe Lombardo.
Present.
Lieutenant Governor Stavros Anthony.
Here.
Controller Andy Matthews.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Frank Lepre.
Here.
Member Justin Kalb.
Here.
Member Gary Pereira. Governor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Gary, where are you located? Is that a fake background?
I thought I'd just do something different for you.
I didn't hear you.
It's a fake background.
Oh, okay.
I'll try something different for you.
All right, we will close agenda item number 1, move to agenda item 2, first opportunity for public comment. Public comment may be provided in person or by calling 775-888-7440. The call will be placed in a queue and the caller will be notified of their turn for comment. The first public comment is limited to comments on items on the agenda. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. And we will limit the public comment to 3 minutes. Do we have any public comment there in Carson City?
We do not. Oh, pardon me, we do.
We're going to transfer him right now.
We have a phone call.
Go ahead if you're ready.
They're working on it.
I was actually talking to the person, so.
Oh.
We'll give it a second. Do we have any update? All right, we'll move. Go ahead.
I was just say it's still in process. They seem to have trouble transferring them.
All right, well, while we're waiting, we'll move to here in Las Vegas. Lieutenant Governor, do we have any public comment there?
Don't see any.
Okay, we'll return to Carson City.
Governor, it doesn't seem to be transferring, but perhaps I can go forward with the director's report, and if they come through, we can bring it back in.
Yeah, absolutely. If not, we can do it in the second opportunity for public comment. But if they do come on, we can break the agenda at any time. So we will temporarily close agenda item number 2 and move to agenda item number 3, receive the director's report. Ms. Larkin.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. So on our first slide, we wanted to say on Monday, April 22nd, Brightline West officially broke ground on the nation's first true high-speed rail system, which will connect Las Vegas to Southern California. The groundbreaking included remarks from U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, Brightline founder Wes Edens, and then Nevada Governor Joe Lombardo, along with senators and congressmen from both Nevada and California. More than 600 people, including union representatives, project supporters, and other state and local officials from California and Nevada, attended the event. Now we have a short clip.
This project is
Douglas, are you receiving the presentation?
By providing
the TV's blank down here.
That's blank here too.
Away will help reduce our carbon footprint and protect our environment for generations to come. High-speed rail for the first time in the United States will be right here. That's amazing. Governor Governor Lombardo, thank you, not only as our governor, but as the chair of the Department of Transportation for leading in this project. Everybody at the Department of Transportation, all of this incredible staff that have worked so hard to get us where we are here today, thank you.
For short, 4 years from now, this will be one of the world's great transportation centers. We'll move millions of people between two of the most exciting and important regions of the country. I'd like to thank Governor Lombardo and the members of the NevadaDOT. They've been our partnership and working in partnership with us hand in hand literally every day.
And I want to thank the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, who secured critical federal funding for this project. Thank you for seeing this and the potential in our state. Thank you, sir.
We're going to be working closely with the Nevada DOT. Thank you for all of your work on this, and to everybody who's been part of this across state and local government. It is my great honor to help break ground on what will be the first high-speed rail in American history.
Anyway, this has been really an exciting groundbreaking for us because it is the first time we have ever done a groundbreaking for a rail. Anyway, moving on, this has become the theft reduction. This is a follow-up on an item presented to the board in March 2023 where we indicated that we'd be initiating some security cameras in our right-of-way. We continue to see very costly and damaging wire theft within Nevada DOT right-of-way. Vandalism of the highway fiber and the power infrastructure cost Nevada taxpayers millions of dollars annually. And just within the department, our Reno district office is currently at $500,000 this year. Las Vegas is over $1 million in theft right now. Actually, even this morning, we had a theft coming into one of our campuses in the Neon campus, which is just south of the RTC building there. And while they didn't manage to get the theft, they did, the transformer is blown. It'll be fixed, but that means that entire campus has no electricity right now. It jeopardizes our telecommunications, electrical, and driver information networks, and it disrupts traffic operations, roadway lighting, and that's our DMSs, the dynamic message signs and ramp meters. And basically, it's a direct cost not only to the taxpayers, but also a direct cost into our programs. And while I did state what the amounts were for NDOT alone, I met with Clark County Commissioner last week. They were at $2.5 million of loss and wire theft this year. I have not talked to the other entities, but it has become a very huge issue. So what we're doing is, some of the things we're doing, we're burying telecoms as much as 6 feet deep to prevent illegal access. We covered the telecoms cabinets with heavy access covers and now adding concrete collars to further reduce illegal access and digging into them. They've had limited success. They have some success, but it is not, it's not completely reducing it. In metro areas, we have security patrol to deter the theft and illegal, and we continue to work in partnership with the other law enforcement agencies and recycling centers to educate and hopefully reduce instances of illegal sale of transportation and for copper and other wiring. So we have a pilot program to protect infrastructure on I-15 in Vegas. Signage and theft prevention systems are being installed at 66 locations along I-15 between Charleston and Flamingo. And how the systems work, there are signs posted stating trespassing is prohibited and areas under video surveillance. Contractors install monitoring systems, including loudspeaker and camera monitored by stealth monitoring. The cameras are aimed towards potentially vulnerable freeway infrastructure, such as cable boxes. If motion is detected, the stealth monitoring staff will be alerted to review the camera feed. If they see a trespasser in the highway right-of-way, they use a loudspeaker to alert them that they are trespassing and must leave the area. If the trespasser does not leave, our contracted uniformed security team will be dispatched. If a crime or other life safety issue is taking place, law enforcement will be notified immediately. We have met with our law enforcement local government partners to collaborate on this new theft deterrent system, and we also conducted a legal review prior to contracting for the program. We want to note that NRS 331.220 does not allow electronic surveillance on state facilities without the knowledge of the person being observed. To provide notification, we have mentioned before, we have posted signs noting that the area is protected by video conference. The statute also allows surveillance as part of security to protect the safety of persons on the ground, which our system does. Ultimately, this is a statewide issue, and we'll monitor this pilot program and evaluate success based on the reduction of theft and reduced downtime of freeway systems. Also wanted to mention in that meeting with some of our Southern Nevada partners last week, they are putting forward an ordinance, a draft ordinance, and working with the Department of Public Safety, where they're looking at working with recycling centers. And that some of the ordinance that's mentioned is like motor vehicle transport only by seller to purchaser with no shopping cart or walk-up transport, lowering to $30 the threshold above which no cash transactions are available. The NRS threshold is being $150. Above the $30 threshold, only checks or electronic transfers are permissible and payment must be delayed a minimum period. A daily limit of no more than one cash transaction, which of course must be below the $30 threshold. The purchaser must obtain from the seller documentation regarding burned metallic wire that was burned and required legally. This is similar to NRS rules regarding junk dealers. Flexibility regarding who can enforce. This is in Proposition Section 10.93-020 and in proposed 10-93030 minimum penalties with a civil infraction option. This has been adopted by the City of Las Vegas. It is looking at being adopted by all the other agencies in Southern Nevada. And we have also shared this with your office, Governor, and also we're sharing it with the RTC and the respective agencies in Northern Nevada where we have the great theft prevalent. We're hoping that some of these things will deter. Like I said, it's costing us a lot of dollars. Next, on a more lighter note.
Hey, just a quick, for the record, Governor Lombardo, quick question, Ms. Larkin. When you mentioned the target hardening of burying 6 feet and in concrete encasement, is that only after an event takes place, or are we doing proactive work on that?
We're doing proactive work on it now. As this has become more prevalent, we have been getting more proactive and looking at alternative ways to deter it.
Okay, perfect. Sounds like a fantastic program, so.
Great, thank you. Now for this one, we want to note that you, Governor, led last month's graduation of the State Certified Public Managers course. This is the 19th year that this course has been offered. It is a multi-agency leadership program led by the state that lasts for 18 months. It requires a long-term commitment from the individuals and support from the agencies they work for. Excuse me. Working together over the year and a half strengthens leadership qualities and creates long-term partnership with individuals from other agencies. And in this recent CPM Public Manager graduates included 2 NDOT team members, Assistant Director of Operations Jay Pullen and Principal Operations Engineer Sam Ahmadadi, and I know I butchered that last name. I apologize. I had the privilege of participating in class number 2 and can personally attest at how much the relationships and friendships formed from that during that time have benefited the department and me as an individual. It's a really great program that the state has. So congratulations to both our NDOT grads and all program graduates. Next, again, this is one of our favorite, I'm sorry, this is not quite the favorite one yet. Last week, May 6th to 10th, Governor, you proclaimed Nevada State Employee Appreciation Week, and I just want to acknowledge the many fine people, and yes, I am very biased, workers and employees we have here at NDOT. We have a vastly diverse workforce, and I'm extremely proud of each and every one of them. They truly make our projects, our programs, and our entire state transportation network the very best possible. And thank you, Governor, for recognizing NDOT and the entire state of Nevada team. Now, this next one is one of our favorite kind of days of the year. So on April 25th, it's Take Your Child to Work Day. And it's a really fun day for us. I mean, as you can see, it's just fun to see the next generation looking at it. Many NDOT team members brought their children to various educational exhibits across NDOT headquarters and the districts. And several departments provided exhibits and hands-on activities, such as the NDOT drone technology. We use this to map bridge infrastructure and other inspections, so like pipe inspections and also for material supplies. The Highway Materials Labs, you can see them in the center working with some of the sieve tests. NDOT equipment, obviously a favorite, particularly with the younger crowd. Highway Sign Shop and Budget Management. It's just another way we're working to interest the next generation in transportation engineering, and it is part of our recruitment program. Catch them while they're young. And then on the Environmental Excellence Award, one of our research efforts has received an award on the wildlife vehicle collision reduction. This is a research that was led by NDOT Research and Environmental Divisions. The study analyzed the most effective ways to reduce animal vehicle collisions, improve motorist safety, and offer safer crossings for Nevada's wildlife. Road ecologists and engineers from across North America evaluated research and data to determine the most effective practices to reduce animal vision collisions and increase connectivity. And they chose our research as one of the best. The goals of the study were to improve how we measure the cost benefit of infrastructure and programs to reduce the vehicle hits with wildlife, test improved designs and technologies to reduce the hits, and share best practices with transportation, land management, and wildlife agencies and their stakeholders. The award will officially be done on June 5th. So congratulations to our environmental division. Now just a few updates on some major projects. On the I-15 Tropicana, as we know, we began rebuilding the southern half of the Tropicana overpass. This started the week after the Super Bowl in February. The deck pours for the southbound flyover to eastbound Trop are happening now, and we'll be pouring a huge footing for the I-15 southbound on-ramp in mid-June. And our next one will be the I-15 Charleston interchange. This is a project that was particularly hit by the wire theft on a number of ones this year, but we are moving forward. The barrier rail to be removed from I-515 main line by mid-May, and we're rubberizing the surface overlay to begin in early June. The Charleston Boulevard traffic realignment to a football configuration, which is traffic moved to the outside lane, will be done by the end, should be done now. An open grade on the Charleston Boulevard and Charleston ramps will be completed by the end of May. Landscape and aesthetic features are ongoing, and substantial completion is estimated by mid-July. And the I-15 North widening. This is the widening from Speedway to the Garnett interchange, which is the intersection with US 93. We added a lane in each direction, and the paving is being completed in May, and it should be complete by the end of June. And the project will wind up this summer. So those are exciting to see those coming to fruition, coming to their completion. And then last, we have a little bit on our vacancy savings versus outsourcing. It's something we've discussed in other one. We do work to achieve the proper balance of staffing between state and contracted employees. The number of positions we have has fallen behind in some of the areas. We typically use outsourcing to round out our staffing during peak periods or when specialized expertise is needed, so there's always some need to outsource. However, due to vacancies, we've had to rely much more on outsourcing than we have in the past. You have seen slides from us before where in the past we have typically done about 40 million to 50 million of outsourcing a year. We are now up to about 120 million. And just because of increasing things, we should be about 60 million, so we're definitely more than we'd like to be. Due to the cost and availability of contract personnel, we are only hiring outsourced employees where it's vital to operations or on the critical path for project delivery. Also, outsourcing is not a viable solution for all functions. There's some things in snow plowing where we have to be careful on where we outsource on it. And so existing employees are still experiencing some problematic understaffing. The balance between outsourcing and the ability to hire state employees is also impacted by economic factors such as the pay offered by competing employers and the supply of skilled workers, which is something that we're seeing from all agencies. Employee raises and benefits are expected to help in retention and recruitment, and we are seeing help. They have definitely, the raises that were authorized in the last one have helped, and we're particularly seeing that in the maintenance area. We're still having a lot of trouble getting any professional help, engineering help, or traffic engineers, civil engineers. Due to the temporary nature of the jobs and the required level of skill, the outsourced personnel cost significantly more than state employees. As a rule, they tend to be 30 to 45% higher than what the state offers. While NDOT does have vacancy savings, this is insufficient to cover the increases in the need for contracted personnel. Outsources uses as typically, I already mentioned that. And I also say that the budget for our vacancy savings is in a different budget category than for our contracted positions. So contracted offices for project-related come out of category 06, and for operation-related come out of category 04, and they're all separate appropriations and coded to different categories. So basically, savings in one area does not necessarily offset outsourcing in other areas. The salary and benefit increases again for fiscal year 2023, and the continued work on recruitment and retention should help, but we're still having trouble, and we continue to be concerned with. And then as a very last note, it's not on a slide, just wanted to mention that NDOT AGC and some of the board members will be meeting in the near future just to discuss some construction issues and different operations that are happening in the field. That concludes the director's report.
Any questions by any board members of the director?
Governor, this is Member Calb. I have a question for the director.
Go
So,
ahead, sir.
Tracy, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that when you were talking about the vacancy, that the overspend that we spend on outsourcing, all that does is reduce the revenue that the department has to spend on projects?
That is correct. Do you need me?
And there's nothing that can be done with the, I think you said $30 million worth of surplus that we have for employees that's not used?
When you come out of, and I'll have my assistant director of administration answer if I get this budget part wrong. In category 01, that is set by the state, and that's based on the number of full-time employee positions that we have. Out of that also is some overtime. So when you have savings, because there's always naturally some vacancies. And because of those savings, but it stays no one, and that will often go to overtime and things like that. Where you have for like project, so construction augmentation, design augmentation are usually assigned to projects, and that comes out of category 06. And then, which is our capital improvement program. And then if it's for augmenting like maintenance crews, or it's augmenting, say, payroll, that comes out of the operating fund, which is category 04. These are not interoperable categories. We also have some that comes out of category 16, which is for the IT professionals on there. And it's just that when we do outsource them, they do tend to be 30 to 45%, depending on what the position is, higher that we pay for them. So when you start looking at the percentage of what it is of our overall payroll budget, so normally NDOT's payroll would be about $170 million a year. And right now, I think our full-time, Felicia, you gotta help me here. It's about 140 right now.
For the record, Felicia Denny, Assistant Director of Administration. Our Category 1 budget, which is our personnel, which includes payroll and benefits for our employees, for this fiscal year is $170 million. And although we're projecting savings in that category of approximately $30 million, when this last legislative session passed, we were given approximately $19 million in raises, et cetera. That was not added into our budget, as it's the policy of the legislature to have the agencies come back and request that money if needed. Also, a longstanding policy is that the Governor's Finance Office calculates vacancy savings for all the various agencies, as we don't always have every position filled. every day. And so there's a little over 12 million this year that is not included, that was taken off to arrive in that, to that $170 million budget. And this is just standard practice that allows agencies to utilize that money for other things, as we know we're not going to have every position filled every minute. So short story long, although we're not spending as much on our personnel, there's not additional cash in the budget to apply toward those other contract employees. So it's a balancing act that we do to try to find that correct balance. I hope that was helpful.
So that is helpful. Director, my question is when we're outsourcing for a position that would normally be filled by NDOT, if it's outsourced, it cannot be coded to, I think you said 01. Is that correct? They have to be an employee.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any further questions? All right, not hearing any further questions. It's an informational only item. We will close the director's report and move to agenda item number 4, consideration of approval of the April 8th, 2024 Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting minutes for possible action. Do we have any questions of any members of the minutes? If no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Stavros Anthony, move for approval.
We have a first, we have a second.
Member Valentine, I second.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any against, nay? Hearing none, motion passes. We will close agenda item number 4 and move to agenda items number 5 and 6, which fall under the consent agenda. Consent agenda, all matters in this section are considered by the Transportation Board of Directors to be routine and may be acted upon in one motion unless the board member requests that an item be taken separately. Do we have any questions under the consent agenda? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval for agenda items number 5 and 6.
Stavros Anthony, move for approval of the consent agenda items 5 and 6.
We have a motion. Do we have another?
Member Valentine, I'll second.
For the record, that was member Virginia Valentine. We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any against, nay? Hearing none, motion passes. We will close agenda items number 5 and 6, and we have no items taken separately under section 3. So we will move on to section 4, additional business items, and agenda item number 7, contracts and agreements and settlement and judgments. This is an informational only item. Do we have any here? Hang on a second, guys. Do we have any items for agenda item number 7? Ms. Larkin?
No, this is just it's listing the contracts and agreements that I have signed over the past there so that everyone can see it.
Do we have
public.
Do we have any questions by any board members? All right, we will close agenda item number 7, move to agenda item number 8, NDOT Research Library presentation, informational item only. Ms. Larkin?
This will be a short presentation on our research library by our librarian, Mitch Eisen.
Good morning, members of the board and everyone else. Thank you. My name is Mitch Eisen, and I'm the research librarian here at NDOT. It's an honor to be here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the library. We have a broad user group, or user base, excuse me, and mostly that is NDOT staff, but we also serve a large array of other stakeholders, including Nevada academic institutions, state and local government agencies, and the public. We serve NDOT's mission by trying to, well, we do. We supply the highest quality information to NDOT staff to help them do their jobs to make Nevada's traveling public safe and connected. Ours is the only library in the state devoted strictly to transportation, which makes us very unique. We are located in an annex building on the NDOT headquarters campus. This is open to the public and, of course, NDOT staff from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. The public needs to make an appointment, though. The library is one of 3 programs in the NDOT research section. We are funded 80% by something called state planning and research funding and 20% state matching. We have 1 full-time employee, and that is me. We have a special focus on, among other things, a special focus on NDOT publications. These date back to when the Highway Department was created in 1917 to today. And we keep everything that's published by NDOT, and we archive it, whether it's print or electronic, and make that available when people ask for it, which they actually do. And you can see that on the slide, a little picture of some of our NDOT publications. We have many, many. Some of the other services we offer, we, of course, help employees and others with information assistance. So if somebody is maybe doing a presentation or trying to write a report and that person needs specific facts or statistics, etc., we try to provide that from the most accurate and reliable sources possible. We maintain an extensive collection of print and electronic resources. We have a web-based library catalog that is available from anywhere in the world and is fully searchable, lists everything in the library. We offer literature searching, which is a very in-depth search for resources on a specific topic of transportation. And I just want to list some of the ones that I've done in the past for people. For an example, roadside rest areas, drone technology for inspecting bridges, and truck escape ramps. Finally, one of the great features we offer is interlibrary loan. This allows NDOT staff access to library collections all over the country, including university research libraries and even the Library of Congress. And I'm proud to say that we just borrowed a book from the Library of Congress for one of our staff members. So that's just great, you know. In addition to printed materials from interlibrary loan, we can also borrow, we don't give them back, but we get electronic articles for people all the time. And just last week, I obtained several for a NDOT structures engineer who was working on a project. These otherwise would not be available to us. So that's a great resource that we offer. I won't read them all, but here is a list of some of the most important and authoritative sources that we offer in the library. The picture is of one of our AASHTO books, American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials. These are one of our largest and most used collections. We offer full text electronic database access to NDOT staff from their desktops. And among these, I mentioned the AASHTO publications, they're electronic. So is something called the ASTM Compass, which is industry standards that are referenced heavily in NDOT standard specifications, and the Transportation Research Record, which is the official journal of the Transportation Research Board. And it is probably the most prestigious and largest transportation journal, and it offers information, articles on every aspect of transportation. So we're happy to make that available to staff. And without going too deep into the weeds of what I do, I just wanted to mention some of our cataloging practices. We catalog new materials that have not been cataloged by other libraries and make those records available to other libraries. That's something we're very proud of, and we put those in an international database, and I've seen our records be used by a number of libraries. We do the same thing. If we acquire an item, we can often find a record in this database and download it. So the point being that maintain efficiency for everybody. In addition, we go by the Library of Congress standards for subject headings and classification. This is, I know, very weedy, but this is the official standard for research libraries and academic libraries, and I'm very happy that we do this. It maintains consistency and the best possible organization and information for our users. Some other focus areas that we have in the library, we keep an extensive collection of NDOT research reports. These are published by the NDOT research section. We keep those electronically and in paper as far back as they go. We have a collection of professional study guides. These are used extensively, mostly for engineering related exams, but we have other ones as well. And we of course maintain a general collection of reference items, for example, say books on Microsoft Excel or project management, or even how to write a report, things like that, how to give a speech. And one of my favorite projects that I've worked on and I'm very proud of is we were able to digitize some of our most historic resources that otherwise would have only been available in print format, basically in our library. So this allows us to conserve those items and also at the same time make them available to anyone, anywhere. And they are NDOT standard specifications from 1937 to 1996, the Highway Department's biennial report from 1919 to 1974, and Nevada Highways and Parks magazine from 1938 to 1975. And the other, I just wanted to say that the illustration is up there is from the May-December 1951 issue of Nevada Highways and Parks magazine. If you get a chance, please check it out. It's really, really impressive. We had it scanned at a very high quality. Here is my contact information. Please feel free to contact me at any time. And of course, the library is open to NDOT staff and everyone else. Just please make an appointment if you're not NDOT staff, because you won't get through the door. And that's a nice little picture of the outside of our building. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about the library today. And please let me know if you have any questions. Be happy to take questions.
We just
Do any members, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to state that for Mitch, that it is a huge benefit to the department. They also maintain like the ASTM standards that we use, and by using him electronically, it keeps it up to date throughout the department, as opposed to having to do pull sheets and so on. And the fact that he can share it with other libraries has been a really great benefit for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do any members have any questions of Mitch? Before we
Member
move on?
Valentine.
Go ahead.
I have a printed link to the library website. How do you find this website if you wanted to search it?
The easiest way would be to use Google or another search engine and just type in NDOT Research Library.
Thank you.
It will come up to our website, and you can click on it right there. Same with the historic publications. They're available on the NDOT website as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mitch. Appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll close agenda item number 8 and move on to number 9, One Nevada Plan presentation.
Governor, this will be presented by the Deputy Director, Sandra Rosenberg, down there in Las Vegas.
Thank you. Sandra?
Good morning, Governor, members of the board. For the record, Sandra Rosenberg, Deputy Director of Planning and Administration. This is a topic we typically discuss each year in the fall when we're doing our work program and STIP updates. Given the recent inflation and continued increased needs in our system, we wanted to bring this to you mid-year as information to remind everyone what our process is, as well as take any feedback or suggestions on changes or improvements to it. The One Nevada Transportation Plan was adopted in 2018 and serves as the foundation for our continuously improving planning process. The plan established 6 goals to enhance safety, preserve infrastructure, optimize mobility, transform economies, foster sustainability, and connect communities. The process we have developed and continue to evolve is aimed at prioritizing our resources at all levels in planning, from need identification to prioritizing a project for funding. Starting with the least defined is identifying the needs. This can be done from data sets such as crash data, mapping of current and proposed activity centers, or from input from the public or other stakeholders on concerns they experience. Those needs are verified for alignment with the goals, then moved into concept development. This could be a planning or scoping study and could be studied to evaluate solutions to one or many needs. So sometimes we bundle those needs into one area study. Those concepts are then evaluated by a committee to determine which should move forward to projects based again on alignment with those 6 goals. The concepts that move forward are then developed into projects and then prioritized for funding. This process is more, once we get into the actual projects, it's much more quantitative, and includes a set of criteria to measure alignment with goals and evaluated for each project. Next slide, please. This just shows a few more of the steps, essentially what I just talked about, but a few more of the steps in the process. Next slide, please. So each year we prioritize our work program that comes to the board for approval, along with our state transportation improvement program, which is actually approved by Federal Highway Administration. And it lasts at least, the STIP has to last at least 4 years. So we're meeting a federal requirement as well as a state requirement when we bring those programs to you. The work program is updated annually. And technically you approve the 1-year program of projects, but we bring you the 4 years for that awareness. And we're working on bringing in further future years as well. It aids in the funding projects that best align with NDOT goals, provides information about cost effectiveness of projects, and serves as the baseline for project priorities above and below the line of available funding. Next slide. And to approve, this is all, again, once we have those projects identified after those initial phases. So in order to prioritize projects, we use something called MODA, Multi-Objective Decision Analysis. This is a fancy way of saying we have a lot of needs and different types of projects. We need a way to compare them against each other with our limited resources in a consistent manner. The steps include defining criteria, establishing scales, develop project lists, and weight the criteria. Projects are then scored based on those criteria and weights, and then normalized by cost in order to give us a ranked list of projects. We do not simply then develop the projects in that order, but rather apply what we call harmonization to factor in things that can't readily be used in the MODA tool, such as funding categories and eligibilities, project readiness, geographic distribution, and performance goals. These steps are used to develop our work program and STIP, and then we begin again to go through this process each year. We're working towards being able to do this more frequently, as sometimes unforeseen needs do come up, but for now the formalized process is fairly time consuming and done annually. Next slide. I mentioned the criteria and weighting, so you can see our 6 goals there and the relative weights along with all of the criteria that make up those goals. We sometimes hear it's a black box, we don't know how this is being done, so we wanted to demonstrate here all of the criteria that we do use to weight those projects, to score and then weight those projects. Next slide, please. This is just a sample from last year when we went through this process. What the result is a prioritized list of projects. This slide demonstrates the range of projects that we evaluated last year. So you can see quite a big range in both the MODA scores as well as the costs that we're comparing against each other. And how that scoring weights out. So those numbers you can see on the right, it doesn't matter what the number is exactly, but you can see how it shapes up into our highest ranking projects, which then again are harmonized, factoring in things like geographical split, system preservation, readiness, and funding priorities. Next slide. I think you've all seen this slide a number of times. The inflation we've experienced in highway construction is unprecedented and continues to increase. This makes the process to prioritize our program that much more important. With essentially flat state funding and modest increase in federal funding, the number of projects that we are able to deliver each year will begin to decrease. So the prioritization process is incredibly important. Next slide, please. So again, this is just an informational item to allow the board to give us any feedback as we work on this process right now. The process is underway for the 2025-2028 STIP and work program. We do plan to come back to the board in August in conjunction with our public comment period, and then back in September for approval. This overall process is continuously improving to include more considerations and better coordination between divisions and partner agencies. We're always open to feedback and suggestions on this process as we proceed. So with that, next slide, we're happy to take any questions, comments, feedback at this point, but the intent was just to remind you all of how we prioritize our projects in preparation for bringing it back for approval this fall.
All right, thank you, Sandra. Do any board members have any questions?
This is Member Perea.
Go ahead, Gary.
On slide number 5, you talk about the criteria and weighting. Can you talk a little bit about how you came up with that formula? And I'm a little surprised that safety isn't maybe a little bit bigger.
Yes, thank you again for the record, Sandra Rosenberg. We went through a number of different workshops. This was several years ago with many of the different divisions as well as the director's office to kind of go through that. Certainly safety, you can see there safety is the highest weight, but they are all fairly close. And the reason being if you increase that weighting for safety, then it has to come from somewhere. So that was a series of what we call pairwise scoring, comparing each criteria to the next or each goal area to the next in terms of relative importance. And that's what we ended up with. That being said, those are subject to change. And if this board wanted to weigh in on a different set of weighting, that would certainly be appropriate. You can see here safety and infrastructure or preserve infrastructure do weigh the highest.
So
Go ahead, Governor. Sorry.
Gary, did that answer your question?
Thank you.
So Sandra, just to build off, this is Governor LeBar for the record, to build off Gary's question, you mentioned utilization of crash data earlier. So it's a 4-year plan. So under emergency situations, if you identify some issue that could prevent a fatal accident per se, can you admit it from the plan, or is this, I assume this is a living document?
Yes, sir. For the record, Sandra Rosenberg. Yes, sir. It is a living document. We do a formal update every year, even though it's a 4-year program. And then we do make amendments throughout the year as well as things come up. So we do have that ability. The constraint on the STIP side is fiscal constraint with all of the federal fund sources. We can't over program, if you will, the federal fund sources that are available. But again, having this process, we have, giant worksheets back in the office that show kind of those trade-offs. So we could accelerate a project, and this allows us to say which, what then falls off on the schedule when we're constrained by finances. Did that answer your question, Governor?
Absolutely. So Frank, did you have a question?
I did. Sonia, my question is on design. Do you guys get in how much money's allocated to design to actually construction work? Are we over designing right now with the $70 million we paid to outsource design, and now there's no money left to do jobs? Has anybody looked into that to where, I understand we have inflation. My question is, are we designing too much and not actually doing work on our roads?
So I will start, again, Sandra Rosenberg, I will start, and then I may hand it over to my counterparts up north in the project delivery space. The One Nevada process does not factor out, we do not separate design from construction. We look at the whole project and how that project ranks. But I know we are continuously looking at how much are we spending on design and project development compared to the construction. So I don't know if Sajid or Scott want to weigh in on that question.
Sure. This is Scott Hine, Assistant Director, Engineering Project Delivery. We have reviewed our processes for design development, and we are looking at our consultant help and trying to not have too many projects on the shelf, so to speak, that we can't afford to build. So we are looking into that and making sure we're right-sizing our program.
Thank you both.
I wanted to add to both of that. One, to Gary's question, safety has its own category, but I want to also point out it does not preclude it from being a portion of when you rank in the other ones. When we look at infrastructure, safety is also just a factor in how it's designed. But we also have projects that are just safety related. Wrong way driver detection, things like that, that are purely on the safety side. So it's not, it doesn't preclude it from being considered in the other factors. With regard to, we have been doing a very serious look in the past year. We do need to keep some projects on the books ahead of time so that if something falls, like maybe an environmental comes up with an issue or something slips, we want to have another project ready to move into it. We also want to have projects ready for when there's grant opportunities. But to following up on what Scott's statement, we are very much looking at right-sizing the program. And when we outsource, it's a lot of times we want it to be because it's part of the natural ebb and flow, and also, or it's for specialized engineering or something where we do not have the expertise within the department.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, we'll close agenda item number 9. Thank you, Ms. Rosenberg. Good information. And move on to item 10, the executive session. Do we have any items for the executive session? Ms. Larkin?
We do not.
Okay, we will close item 10 and move to item 11, the second opportunity for public comment, a period devoted to comments by the general public about matters relevant to the board's jurisdiction. We will limit the comments to 3 minutes. Before we get into public comments on this section, we'll go back to the original public comment period. Have we recovered the caller from the first period?
We have not. We just checked, but we do have a person here in Northern Nevada.
Okay, go ahead.
Morning, Governor. Good morning, Board of Trustees. Elizabeth Learnhardt for the record. Highway 50 is still not safe. It is not only speed, but erratic driving behavior and disregard of traffic rules that are rampant up there. We appreciate the increased presence of the law enforcement in the recent weeks, and the Warrior Way traffic light has helped greatly. But locals are concerned about parking alongside Highway 50 during peak summer holidays, particularly in the vicinity of the Zephyr Cove Resort. The recent announcement by the Forest Service in Aramark about their plan to enlarge the resort by 150 parking sites and 80 camping sites on the west side of Highway 50 is bound to increase traffic and illegal parking. We are worried that creating this new attraction will cause a similar explosion of visitors as the Sand Harbor Trail did for Incline. It nearly doubled the visitors from 2021 to 2023. The traffic now backs up on 28, sometimes all the way to 2850 intersection. I urge NDOT to engage with the Forest Service to rethink this project. Tahoe is suffering from over-tourism and doesn't need more attractions. Developing in one of the last natural beaches would be a tragedy for wildlife and visitors as well. It would take away the current free beach access and impose a fee. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Elizabeth. We have any further public comment there in Carson City?
No.
Do we have any public comment there with you, Lieutenant Governor?
We do not.
All right, we will close agenda item number 11 and move for adjournment. I will entertain a motion.
This is Andy Matthews. I'll move to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Congress Anthony, second.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I won't listen to nays, so that we'll move on. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time.